kidnapping women. And it was Catherine the one that was actually choosing the victims. So by knowing a little bit of the psychological profile, I think it's safe to say that David was the dominant. After all, they were chasing around, satisfying his violent rape fantasies. They weren't looking for a consensual partner to his desires. He was a sexual sadist. That means that he would get aroused by the torturing and the suffering of their victims, and thinking about how Catherine grew up. I mean, she knew. I think the first thing to say, for what we know, they knew what they were doing. She knew what she was doing. But being a dependent, which dependent personality is also a personality disorder. I mean, she wasn't 100% diagnosed with that, but for what I researched, a dependent person is basically afraid of taking care of themselves. They have an extreme bond with another person, and they would also comply or engage in actions that are not pleasant.
Yes.
Are not pleasant just to keep the company of another person. So I guess we could say that they were literally the worst people that could bond. And one thinking that David was antisocial, a narcissist, and was a manipulative man. They were literally a match made in hell. Well, they also met when they were extremely young, and Catherine had little chances to have healthy bonds. It says that she had also an abusive relationship with her father, so I think it's important to think that perhaps she didn't know better.
Clearly, they both had dysfunctional childhoods.
Very much
and
dysfunctional.
That in itself would lead them to perhaps see themselves as kindred spirits, or at least bond over being dysfunctional.
Yeah, and they first engaged in their criminal life when they were teenagers. That's pretty much was David, the one, again, the brain in all these actions. Perhaps also Catherine was maybe fueled by that tendency or kind of stereotypes among the adolescents of seeking for being sensations, seeking and having a criminal life, such prolific, because they committed a lot of crimes when they were just teenagers. And we have also taken consideration that Catherine never had any sort of counseling. There was only this, it seems like Harold, her father, realized that David wasn't a good match for her, but perhaps being a teenager and having David being so manipulative from an early age.
And by all accounts, quite sociable and charming.
Yeah, he had some superficial charm, which is a characteristic of antisocial disorder also. But her father trying to get her apart from him was more something like fuel their relationship. There was only this parole officer that kindly suggested her that she would have a better life without him, but we know that getting over an abusive dependent relationship, trauma bonding, which is what happens when people are in abusive relationships, it takes much more than just having a nice person telling you to split from your toxic and abusive partner.
For anyone who is also interested in watching a absolutely brilliant dramatization of the Bernie's saga, much in the vein of Peter Jackson's Heavenly Creatures, there's a movie that was made by a Perth director by the name of Ben Young, and also written by him, called Hounds of Love, which is quite brilliant and was starred a number of well-known Australian actors such as Stephen Curry and Emma Booth and Ashley Cummings. And if you ever get the chance to watch it, I strongly recommend it. It's a harrowing and very well acted and
pretty much inspired in their last victim, Kate Moore.
And the set design and clothing design is absolutely spot on for early 80s Perth, and you will get a very good sense of what the suburb of Willagee looked like and what the very, very working class, aspiring neighbourhood looked like.
You got a bit nostalgic by watching the movie.
I'm super nostalgic. I lived in that area. My university was right next door. At the time, it was still mainly bushland, but the university was there at the time. And it's a slice of Perth that's still there, and it was shot on location in areas of Perth as well. So shout out to my hometown and all the good folk in Perth.
Except for the Bernies.
Except for the Bernies, yeah.
Did you know that actually when they were taking Denise Brown, who was unconscious, to her burial place, they attempted to pick up a 19-year-old? It was shortly after they were arrested that this teenager went to the police and actually told them that she saw the couple. She felt something sketchy. Yeah. That there was something suspicious about them, and that she saw a person sleeping in the back side of the car, a short-haired person that she thought it was young boy. Well, that was actually Denise Brown.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting as well because Australians love a story, and in the course of my childhood, growing up, the era of stranger danger in the 80s, every second person seemed to have a story or a close encounter, allegedly, with the Bernies. I'm sure many of them were probably exaggerated, or could have they saw a similar car drive through their town. I mean, even me growing up in the wheat belt of West Australia, we had several people say that they were checked out by someone, the Bernies, or the Bernies stopped and had a pie at our local roadhouse or something or other. Whether that was even remotely true or not, I don't know, but you never know. But everyone loves their 5 minutes of fame and attachment to a scandal or a.
They really went on a spree. All of this
absolute rampage
within
a couple of
2
weeks.
months.
Yeah,
no, less than 2 months.
That.
It was really a spree.
Yeah, that's it.
So, a little warning to any of our listeners: if your partner tells you that you must prove their love by murdering and kidnapping people, perhaps it is time to get counseling and get the fuck away from that human.
Also, if they make you dance to Dire Straits' Romeo and Juliet for 2 hours, it's probably time to get out of there.
And they're watching Rocky.
Yep.
You know that Kate Moore also told the police that they were watching the movie Rocky, so it was another little
bit of evidence. I think it was still in the VCR player, but there you go.
So, where can our listeners find us?
They can find us in social media on Facebook, on Spotify, on YouTube, on Instagram.
And we also have a Patreon.
Yes.
Patreon.com/A History of Evil Men. And we also have a Facebook group, apart from the page, when we're going to be uploading all our sources. If someone feels like doing a bit of research as well, or you feel like writing something or sharing something.
Contributing, adding other interviews or sources, please do.
Or suggested crimes for our next episodes, although we have like a big list of our next bedtime story.
Yep. So thanks again for listening, and we will join you next time when we bring you some more of the history of evil men.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.